So while the world rushes to get COVID-19 jabs in as many arms as possible, scientists have been celebrating another new vaccine on the market. The World Health Organization says the newly approved malaria shot can save lives, especially when an estimated 250,000 children die from the deadly fever every year in sub-Saharan Africa. Pilot vaccination programs have been carried out in Ghana, Kenya and Malawi since 2019. Professor Lyn-Marie Birkholtz is a local expert in malaria, and she's live on the line now. Lyn-Marie, thank you so much for joining us. You must be so pleased that this vaccine has been proved to be effective. How stringent were the trials?
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's very, very good news to now finally have a vaccine on board as part of our toolkit to really control malaria, in addition to anti-malarial drugs and our tools that we control the mosquito with. And of course, this is a vaccine that went through numerous trials and safety trials and tests, particularly because it's being used in children. So absolutely very, very rigorous process that took a very long time.
I wonder, Lyn-Marie, how people will approach this vaccine and whether there'll be any hesitancy, as there has been with the COVID vaccine, in getting that jab.
Well, indeed, and again, you are looking at children that has to be vaccinated, because this vaccine will only help in children under 5, and really because those children don't have an immune response against the malaria parasite infection yet. So this vaccine will be a tool to help the immune response of those children to actually fight the disease. But what you have to remember is that this vaccine will be able to save about 30% of lives in children under 5. And that's the point. It will save those children's lives. And we don't have alternative tools at the moment. So we really do need this as an add-on to target children, particularly in Africa, and particularly in areas of very high malaria burden.
What about adults living in areas in sub-Saharan Africa with, as you say, a high malaria burden?
Yes, so in high malaria burden areas in Africa, adults have the advantage that they have developed a very low level of immunity that decreases the disease burden and in most cases also decreases the rate of death. So adults have a little bit of an advantage compared to children. And they would not really have any advantage in terms of taking this vaccine. This vaccine is not designed towards adults at all. However, the adults are still being able to access, of course, anti-malarial drug and those kind of interventions and prophylactics. And again, the vector control tools, the tools that we have to control the mosquito vectors, so important in those areas.
How close are we to developing a vaccine for adults?
Yeah, so of course, there's lots of people that are now working on this. It's very different to developing a vaccine against the virus like COVID, because you are trying to target a very different organism. It's a parasite that causes malaria. And this parasite is almost 100-fold as complicated as a virus. So it's really, really difficult to develop those vaccines. But the lessons that we have learned in terms of developing vaccines now, and the new technologies that's available due to the advantages and the movement around the COVID vaccines is indeed lots of researchers are looking at taking those advances forward and applying it into the malaria setting. How quickly that's going to happen is an open question. It is a little bit more complicated, though.
Is it a live vaccine? Because there's a lot of confusion, certainly with the COVID vaccines. People think that they're getting COVID in order to boost their immunity, which is not the case at all.
Not at all. So none of the vaccines that we actually use in humans are live vaccines, nor are they really attenuated for the virus that they are being vaccinated against. Rather, you are using a vector that has been inactivated that cannot cause disease. And this is the delivery system of these vaccines. And this is the same as the case for the malaria vaccine.
How is the rollout going to happen, and are government agencies going to be in charge of that?
Absolutely. Government agencies, NGOs, and of course the WHO are all involved in Rollout. And this is the next big challenge. We've seen the challenges in rollout of the COVID vaccine and access to those vaccines. And we're going to have to play our part in rolling out the malaria vaccine in context of the challenges that we still see with COVID vaccines. So it is going to be a bit of a challenge. It's going to be the next bottleneck in getting vaccines out to children in Africa. But there are lots of role players committed towards this process.
Thank you so much. Good news there from Professor Lyn-Marie Birkholtz, a local expert in all things malaria.